Dear students, today our topic is DNA fingerprinting. The history of DNA fingerprinting originates from a term called dermatoglyphics. The dermatoglyphics means the study of finger, palm, and sole prints. So, we know that every human being has a different pattern of its finger, palm, and sole prints. So, based on those patterns, we can differentiate between different human beings. This property was first used by Sir William Herschel in 1858 for identification of different human beings, especially in matters related to crime and theft, etc. But there was a demerit of that method. The demerit was the fingerprints or palm or sole prints could be easily altered by a simple surgery. So the person can hide its identity. To overcome this problem, Alec Jeffreys in 1884 came out with an idea that we should check the DNA of the person, and each person will have different DNA which cannot be changed by surgery, because each and every cell of the person is having that DNA and it is different from any other human being except in identical twins. Except in identical twins, the DNA is different in any other human being. So Alec Jeffreys in 1984 came out with an idea to do DNA fingerprinting. That means to devise a technique so that we can identify the difference between the DNAs of different human beings. So, definition wise, DNA fingerprinting is a technique of determining nucleotide sequences of certain areas of DNA which are unique to each individual. So, actually, definition wise, what we do, we try to find out those portions of DNA which are unique to each individual. Now we know that 99% of all human genes are same, but 0.1% of total genes provide individuality. They are not same. 0.1% of total genes. So in terms of base pairs, how much it comes? 0.1% of 3 into 10 to the power 9 base pairs. This is the number of base pairs which we have determined from our human genome project. So 0.1% of this number comes out to be 3 into 10 to the power 6 base pairs. That means 3 million base pairs. And these 3 million base pairs are different in each individual. This difference only is the basis of DNA fingerprinting. DNA fingerprinting is also called DNA typing or DNA profiling. Now, we have to first understand what are those base pairs and how they are arranged which provide individuality to the individual, to the person. So, this 0.1% includes small non-coding but inheritable sequences. non-coding means those portions of DNA do not code for any proteins. They are still there in the DNA, but they are not coding for any proteins. They are just lying down as junk DNA. But they are inheritable. They are inherited generation after generation. And these sequences occur near telomeres, centromeres, in Y chromosome and heterochromatin. So telomeres, we know in some chromosomes the two chromatids are joined by a point which is called telomere, and this point lies in the periphery of the chromosomes. When the point of joining lies in the center, it is called the centromere. Y chromosome, you know, it is the 23rd, one of the 23rd pair members, which determines maleness in human beings. And heterochromatin. What is heterochromatin? In fact, the total DNA content of human beings or any individual or any animal can be categorized into two categories, euchromatin and heterochromatin. And the basis of this categorization is euchromatin means that portion of DNA which is actively coding for new proteins, actively coding. But the other portions of DNA which are not coding actively, in fact they do not code for any protein throughout the lifetime, those non-coding regions are only called heterochromatin. Okay, so euchromatin and heterochromatin. We are not bothered about euchromatin portions of DNA in DNA fingerprinting. We are bothered about the heterochromatin portions. Now, these areas, which areas? Those areas which are non-coding but inheritable, heterochromatin area and some portions of Y chromosomes and portions near the telomeres and centromeres, these areas, what they have some peculiarity. What is that peculiarity? These areas are with some same sequence of bases called repetitive DNA. So these areas which do not code for any protein, they have same sequence of bases which are repeated tandemly. Tandemly means one behind the other. Okay. So since they are repeated same portions, one time, two time, three time, four time, or multiple times, then it is called a repetitive DNA because it is being repeated. This repetitive DNA can be separated from the bulk DNA. Bulk DNA means the most or major portions of the DNA which are actually non-repetitive and they are involved in coding proteins. That is normal protein synthesis machinery. But those areas which are repetitive and they do not involved in any coding, they can be separated from the bulk DNA as satellites or some portions of DNA. They are also called satellites by the method called density gradient centrifugation. Density gradient centrifugation is one kind of centrifugation which helps us to separate the repetitive DNA portions from the bulk DNA portion. Okay. This repetitive DNA, obviously it is the smaller in quantity. It is also called satellite DNA. Now let us concentrate on the repetitions. These repetitions are tandem. Tandem means one behind the other. And depending on the length, base composition Length means it contains of how each segment which is being repeated contains how many base pairs. Like it may contain 3 bases or 4 bases or sometimes 5 or 7 or whatever may be the number, depending on the length of the segment. Base composition, which are the nucleotides present in that segment, and numbers of repetition, the entire segment is repeated how many times. For example, ATGC is one segment and contains 4 different nucleotides, and if it is repeated 3 times, say ATGC, then ATGC, then ATGC, then this is the 3 repetitions of 4 nucleotides bases. So based on these criteria, what length, base composition and numbers of repetitions, the repetitive or satellite DNA can be classified into 2 categories. One is mini satellites and another one microsatellites. The difference being, mini satellites have the segments which are longer in length, whereas microsatellites are having repetitive DNA in which the segments are shorter in length. To get an idea, in mini satellites we find the segments of 7 or 8 or more than 7 nucleotides. But in microsatellites we find repetitions of 2, 3 or maximum 4 nucleotides. Okay. So the 2 types of satellites can be categorized, and they exhibit high degree of polymorphism. Polymorphism means variation, and this variation is based on what categories? The length of the segments, base composition and number of repetitions. They show very high degree of polymorphism, and this difference or variation or polymorphism has accumulated over many years of human evolution. So because of this polymorphism, they are unique in each individual, and we take advantage of this uniqueness only. Okay. Now, among those satellites, especially the mini satellites, we identify the repetitive regions which we called VNTR. This term VNTR is crucial for this DNA fingerprinting. It represents variable number tandem repeats. The name suggests variable. It shows very high degree of polymorphism or variation. The number of segments are different, and tandem repeats. Tandem means one behind the other. A variable number of tandem repeats. These small segments are present in mini satellites. Each individual inherits these VNTRs, and they determine the individuality of a person. Okay. So VNTRs or variable number tandem repeats are those sequences which are different in every individual. Okay. And our main idea is to separate these VNTRs from the bulk DNA, and then we match these VNTRs between any 2 individuals. Since they are highly polymorphic, they definitely show difference in patterns. Okay. So this is the basic idea of DNA fingerprinting. Now technically, the steps involved in DNA fingerprinting are, first of all, we do isolation of DNA from the sample. The sample can be obtained from any place. It can be from a crime scene or from a study area for research, whatever may be the source, first we take the sample and isolate the DNA from the sample. Then that isolated DNA is fragmented by restriction enzymes. Okay. And then those fragments of DNA are separated in the next step by gel electrophoresis. You already know what is gel electrophoresis. It is a method of separating different fragments of DNA based on the length or the size of the fragment. And if you remember, in gel electrophoresis, we finally get a gel area in which different regions of DNA bands will be present. The band which has travelled farthest is the band of smaller fragments, and the band which has not travelled too much distance is the band of large DNA fragments. So by that method we separate those DNA fragments. Now these fragments, since the sample can be very small, we take the help of PCR to multiply the fragments to make their numbers increase. So by PCR, what is PCR? PCR is polymerase chain reaction. This is a method to multiply the DNA segments. Once we get sufficient number of fragments, then those DNA fragments are separated into single strands. Remember, so far the DNA fragments were in double strands. Now we separate them into single strands by some chemicals which are alkaline in nature. We take the help of those chemicals to separate the double stranded DNA into single stranded DNA. Then next step, after getting the single stranded DNA, we add radioactive DNA probes complementary to possible VNTRs present in that sample. What we do? We add radioactive DNA probes. Now what are these radioactive DNA probes? These probes, DNA probes, are actually small fragments of single stranded DNA, and they are made in vitro, in laboratory. On what basis? On possible VNTRs. Means after some research we have identified, or we know that the VNTRs can have some combinations depending on the nucleotides arrangement. So we have made a fair number of artificial DNA segments, single stranded, and we use that VNTRs only as a DNA probe. Now this probe means to find out. Now what these DNA segments do, since we have separated the double stranded DNA into single stranded, these DNA probes or small segment of single DNA segments, they go and bind to their respective DNA, sample single stranded DNA segments. If they find their matching pairs, their complementary pairs, sorry, not matching, complementary pairs. So for example, in the segment DNA, ATGC is one segment. Now in the DNA probe, if the T, complementary to A is T, then complementary to T is A. So TACG, if there is one DNA probe like this, it will go and match to the ATGC probe. Okay. So what finally we will get is that our DNA probes are matching with the possible VNTRs in the sample. Okay. And this is called Southern blotting. Southern is actually the name of a person, E.M. Southern, who devised this method. What is the advantage of this method is, we use radioactive DNA probes. Means when these DNA probes match and bind to their complementary DNA segments, they emit radiation. And because of this radiation, we can go to the next step, which is the development of X-ray film from nylon membrane. Now, these radiations help us to develop the same pattern in the X-ray film, because it is going to be a proof. So we can't give the proof as the gel itself, because it is very soft and easily destroyable. So what we do, first we add the radioactive DNA probes and let the DNA probes bind to their complementary possible VNTRs, and then we blot them to a nylon membrane. Once the segments are blotted to the nylon membrane, from nylon membrane the X-ray film can be developed, and that X-ray film is like any other normal X-ray film, which can be used as a proof, and it can be preserved for a long time. Okay. So with this we complete all these steps of DNA fingerprinting. The final outcome of this entire steps is that X-ray film, which contains different bands of DNA segments, and these bands, when compared to the X-ray film of another person, will be different, because these bands are made out of possible VNTRs, and these VNTRs are different in each individual. Okay. So this is the entire overview of DNA fingerprinting. The applications of DNA fingerprinting are very important. First of all, they help us to establish individuality of a person. Then they help us to solve paternity or maternity disputes, which is very common in human society. Then in forensic science, in place of crime scene, when the criminal is not present, but the relatively very small body parts like hairs or sperm or blood stains, all these are sufficient samples to get the DNA fingerprinting of that person. And with the help of this pattern, the forensics experts can make out who was that person. Apart from these, it is also used in hereditary diseases, like in finding out which disease is running in a family and which portion of DNA is responsible for that. Then it is also used to establish human lineage and sociology, means the study of different human races in this world. So these are some of the main applications of DNA fingerprinting. With this, I conclude the class. Thank you.